Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Mary Jane Pullam joining us here. She's the founder of Myofascial Wellness by Jane. We are excited to have her back here today, along with a very special guest. And I would love to welcome you both to the show today. How are you?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. All right. So, Jane, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners and then our beautiful guest, Lindsay, as well?
Absolutely. So my name's Jane Pullam, and I do myofascial release. You can find me on Google under Wellness by Jane. You can find me my website under myofascialrelease.com. I'm sorry, under under myofascialwellnessbyjane.com.
Got it.
And my phone number is 843-814-8642. It's so good to be back on, Jill. And I brought someone with me, Lindsay Rosenberg. And Lindsay came to me with a bunch of issues that were really troubling her. And I thought the best thing, for me always was hearing, like when I first started this, was hearing how people did afterwards.
Of course.
What the results were.
And this is great. So Lindsay Rosenberg, is that your name, sweetheart?
Yes, that is my name,
So
Lindsay
nice
Roseberg.
to meet you. So would you mind sharing your journey, your story, how you connected with Jane? What was your initial, how did you hear about her and what was wrong?
Yeah, so I'll try and summarize my lifetime of medical problems.
Of
in a
course,
small
right?
scale.
Whatever.
Essentially, sometime in the in the very first week of the pandemic, I got my first case of shingles. And it happened as the world was shutting down. And so I didn't really get the care I needed. And as a result, developed neuropathy. And I got it on my shoulder and my breast and the front part of my chest. That kind of set the stage for the rest of the conversation, which is essentially that in the time of the pandemic, being home with two small children, young children, lots of things going on for all of us.
Yeah.
I started suffering from dislocations of my collarbone and my first rib. And I joke it was as if I was falling out in the front or the back repetitively on the side of my body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not
not comfortable. No, clearly.
And so after I finally found a doctor who looked at me and diagnosed me with a condition called Ehlers-Danlos, which is the people who could do party tricks all throughout their life, like bending themselves backwards, or as my daughter who
can do it. She has this, what is it called, double jointness or flexibleness?
And she can take her glasses off over her head with her feet on her stomach, right?
Wow.
Anyway, at 45 years old, a doctor looked at me and she said, "Can you do these things?" "Oh, you have Ehlers-Danlos." And I went, "Oh, that makes so much sense because my daughter has it. Why wouldn't I have thought this?" So kind of fast forward ahead is that now I'm still suffering from dislocations and I can't stop, right? I pick up my kid or a dog and all of a sudden my collarbone pops out. And I found a physical therapist who could work with me. And it's during that time that the physical therapist said, "Oh, are you familiar with myofascial? I know it a little bit, but I am not a practitioner of it." And I started doing a little bit of research about it, thanks to my physical therapist. And she also talked to me about, and I'm sorry, Jane, what is the name of the teacher that you had?
Oh, John Barnes. Yeah.
John Barnes. Okay.
Yeah.
So she told me about John Barnes and that it's actually not far from me. However, I could probably find somebody closer. And once I started researching it, I went, I don't understand why more appreciation is not given.
No one has told you about this earlier. Yeah.
Right.
It's like the unknown.
It makes so much sense. And it makes sense that while I do have Ehlers-Danlos and I did have shingles, that it's potentially the combination of having had a really bad case of shingles and the predisposition for dislocating things, that everything was, I feel some days like my collarbone is being pulled down. And so I started seeing Jane, and it's not invasive. For all the doctors who are like, "We'll do surgery, we'll do all these things for you." It is not invasive. It's very calming. And the process, you walk out and you go, "Oh, wow. I feel a little bit like I'm not being pulled so tight." And all of a sudden my collarbone felt like it was going back into place. And I will say, since I started seeing Jane, knock on wood, I have not dislocated anything. And it's been about 2 months, and I was doing it every other week. So.
So I'm
Wow.
going to jump in there and say what
Please.
was going on when with the shingles left the fascia. It went from nice and open to like that. And that fascia, when it closes down, it can put up to 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. So that 2,000 pounds of pressure, I was talking about how it grinds down joints and makes discs, collapse. For her, because the Ehlers-Danlos, am I saying that right?
Yep. Yep.
How do you spell that, by the way? I want to.
Yeah, it's EHLERS, Danlos, DANLOS. Its short term is EDS, and there are lots of different kinds.
Okay, I just want to look
Yeah.
further into just myself. I learned
Yep.
something new every day, and I'm sorry you're suffering with this, but I'm just curious. I wrote it down, but I wrote Ellis Daniels before because
That's
okay.
okay. And
Now
fun
I know
fact,
how
it
to spell
affects
it.
women. It affects women
Yeah,
way
okay.
more than men. So it's
Okay.
way understudied. Right. That whole storyline that we're all familiar with.
Yes.
Right. So because of the Ehlers-Danlos, the fascia now has the power to pull everything out of joint, pull her collarbone out of alignment. And I would imagine that, I mean, that was really
Quite painful.
I was climbing off of my 11-year-old son's loft bed, and I just felt it pop, and it was pushing on my windpipe.
Wow.
So I mean, not even anything like fabulous. Like I was doing a backflip. I was just climbing down a ladder.
I have a 5 and 7-year-old. We have bunk beds. I can totally empathize and relate. I get it.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
10 and 11.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jane. Continue. So you noticed this 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch.
Yeah, pulling literally her joints out of place. And tell me more about what the surgical what I want to say, the surgical fixes were going to be, or the other things that you were considering.
Well, I'll just say that I would go in with pain in my elbow and pain in my wrist, and doctors would say, well, did you do something? And I'd say no. And they'd go, well, then we don't know what it is. Right. Or, well, we could do exploratory surgery in your shoulder. And it's every doctor I spoke to wanted to deal with just what they understood to be bone or physical therapy, and not understand that there's something that happens between the bone and the skin.
Our expert, Jane.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Our fascia expert.
Oh my gosh. So you might have an elbow problem that originates up here because it's all connected, right? We know.
Yeah.
Actually, but Western medicine separates, we have a hand doctor, we have a foot doctor.
Yeah.
And then we have a back doctor.
Yeah.
And what if it's all connected? And it is. So,
okay.
And you can't, that's the mystery pains that I'm talking about when people can't get help. Because they don't know why it's happening. MRIs and CAT scans don't show the fascia. So if they even they go for a scan, it shows nothing.
Yeah.
So then now you get surgery and you've just cut into an area that is already so tight.
Yeah.
That is pulling things out of alignment. Now you've created a second layer of tightness in the fascia.
Wow.
So you've just done more damage. Now, in some cases, surgery is needed, but a client of mine said this, and I think this is perfect. Don't you owe it to your body to see if you can fix it another way?
Yeah.
And Lindsay's case is like perfect example of that.
Well, and I also say, like the other day, she was particularly working on this area, and when she pressed on it, I felt the spot in my head where I get my migraines. I felt the spot in my pinky where I get ache at the end of the day, because she was pressing and releasing. But I went, oh, that's where that headache comes from. And that's why my hand hurts over here. Yeah. And for a couple of days after, it's better now, but I had like a bit of radiating pain, which I understand was actually opening up the area rather than her doing damage, right? So you also have to change the way you're looking at discomfort after a session, as opening up things can sometimes lead, as Jane would say, like, you may have a few days and tell me where that referred pain is, because it also sends her the message of, oh, it's pulling here and it's affecting here. So it's important information.
Can you break it down and explain a little bit the techniques, Jane, that you're using on Lindsay? What is it? What do you do specifically? Could you share that with our audience? I think it's important to break it down.
Sure. So I'm not gliding on the skin like massage, and I'm not doing exercises like PT. And I'm basically finding an area of the body that doesn't, when I touch it, it feels hard. It won't move.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it feels hot, sometimes not. Sometimes it feels cold because it's completely cut off.
Yeah.
And what I do is I listen to what they're telling me hurts, and I want to go there too, but I also want to find out what is not moving on their body. Because if I go there first,
Yeah.
that will always lead us to the part that hurts. So what does it actually look like? It looks like me just sort of coming onto your skin gently and sinking in, right, over the course of 2, 3 minutes, and then opening up this way,
Okay.
all gentle, all just waiting for a give. And I'll feel the give underneath my hands, but I'm not going for the first release. I'm
Okay.
going for the ones that happen after that. The first release is the elastin component of your tissues. That's all massage gets to.
Yeah.
That's all stretching gets to, unless you hold the stretch for 5 minutes. And yin yoga is very
Yeah.
familiar. So we're looking for the ones that happen after. We're looking for, think of, we're looking for the collagen component to release.
Okay.
So the elastin component, when that releases, it's wonderful, it's temporary. You get to the collagen component and that releases, then you have decades worth of pain and tightness that gets released, which is why people are like, I never thought I'd be able to stand up straight. I have another client, never thought I'd be able to stand up straight. I haven't been able to stand up straight in 20 years.
Yeah.
Lindsay, as well. So does that make sense to answer your question?
Absolutely.
The analogy you used on your website, though, Jane, I think is also extremely helpful. The tablecloth.
Yes.
I think that when I've explained it, I don't know if Jill, you heard this, but like the tablecloth is spread out, and if you pull up one area of it, you see other areas on the tablecloth that are pulled.
Yeah.
And so by stretching out that area, it releases the creases in the rest. And I think that visual is very
Great.
helpful.
That
for
is
me.
extremely helpful, I think, for
Thank
everyone
you.
today listening. Yeah.
So let me do it right here. Let's say I have a shutdown.
Okay.
Put it on this side, right here. If I start shutting that down, where do you see that pulling from?
Right.
Yeah.
So I might come in with, I've got a really bad headache that starts in the back of my neck. And then goes up maybe to this ear and over. And I also, let me just stand up for a second. I also might have some abdominal pain, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm pulling from there.
I see. Yeah. It's
And
all
I
connected.
don't know why my shoulder on the left side hurts. None of that makes any sense when you go to a traditional doctor. So I know you have to leave, Lindsay, and I don't wanna...
go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's any other question you have. I just
no.
I think my biggest statement is that like Jane, I am not being paid to say any of this. I am a living proof of the fact that a couple of months ago, I felt like I was at the bottom of the barrel emotionally, that I could not function the way I wanted to as a mom and as a person and all of those things in my life. And I am amazed at how simple the process is to receive. It's Jane did the hard work, but it's easy for me to receive it, and how much it can just totally alleviate a lot of pain. So
beautiful. Well, thank you for taking the time out to explain this to us, to share your story with us and your pain with us. We appreciate it. And, listeners out there, we really do. And thank you for talking about Jane. It's great to hear someone who's worked with her and made it a lot easier for us to understand. You have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Jane.
Thank you.
Jill.
Bye, Lindsay. In the meantime, Jane, since we are halfway through, would you mind sharing again your best forms of contact for our listeners right now? Thank you.
Absolutely. So you can Google me, Wellness by Jane, in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, or you can also get on my website, which is myofascialwellnessbyjane.com. My phone number is 843-814-8642. You can also email me at Jane2010@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Wow. Listeners, this is pretty fascinating. It's great to hear it from some of your clients. And you're right. It's like this unknown underlying thing. Why don't people talk more about it?
Know about it. Yeah. But now that we do, it's like opened up a whole world. Do we have any callers, or should I go ahead and do that?
I didn't open the phone lines yet. Okay. We had Miss Lindsay. Anyone wants to call, ask us questions, of course, 631-317-1291, 631-317-1291. All right. In the meantime, what else would you like to share?
I would love to share some visuals, like a
Sure. Yeah.
PowerPoint visuals to help us understand, get our head around what is fascia. So let me bear with me for a second.
Sure.
Over here and share. Let me make sure that this is on still. Oh, 1 second. Share sound, do stereo. Okay. Put it down here. Okay.
Okay. Oh, look at this. Who's this? Adorable.
That's Michael, as in the archangel, and then Seraphina, as in not an angel.
Aw.
And that's my fiance Bo. And what's funny is he actually plays fascia man when I do presentations in person. He wears a suit.
Yeah.
It's arachnophobia suit.
Yeah.
So I can actually demonstrate, because it's got spider webs all over it, what happens when there's a lockdown here. You'll see exactly where it pulls.
Yeah.
So moving right along. Myofascial Wellness by Jane. What? How do you say it?
My
Myofascial.
what? Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is a great tutorial. Go ahead.
So each one of these little skeleton people have an issue, right? My back's killing me. And over here, let me see if I can get my mouse to go. Over here, we have this going on. Over here, we have some involvement here, but then we have an issue going on here. All of them actually, possibly, could present with the same pain. Let me go to the next slide. So we all know about the skeletal system. We know about the muscular system. And we're just learning about the fascial system. And that's what connects the skeletal and the muscular systems together. And the reason why we're just learning about it, I mentioned in the last presentation, is because, and we'll have a little film at the end of this, fascia was, they thought, packing material. They thought it really had no purpose. And so they would get rid of it when they were studying the cadaver. And they ignored it. So that's why we are just now learning about it and what it does in the body. So what is it? That's everyone's question. What is this buzzword? What is fascia? So we used to understand it as something that just coated muscle fibers and muscle groupings and organs and so forth. Now we understand that it's actually to flip the paradigm. It doesn't coat, it's the container, right?
Yeah.
So just as milk in a container cannot go beyond the container, muscles cannot go beyond the container of the fascia.
Got it. Okay.
So it controls our range of motion, not the muscles. And it controls our posture. It's also our organ of form. So imagine a three-dimensional webbing throughout our entire body. It runs into and out of every single cell, from your head to toe, front to back, diagonally, every which way.
Yeah.
And then it's also our fiber optic network. It's our light pathways and internet of the body. Our nerves can only carry messages so fast. The messages through the fascia go at the speed of light. So it carries things far faster than our nerves can, carries messages throughout the body far faster. Because, like Lindsay was talking about, based on her injuries, she had a particular fascial signature that was as individual to her as her fingerprint.
Yeah.
She's had a certain set of traumas that have happened.
Yeah.
Individual to her. So, and emotional traumas too. That's also part of it. Every emotional and physical trauma, your body, your fascia has kept score. So what happens when we have this incoming force over here? It makes the fascia brace. And when the fascia braces, it actually, fascia, and we're going to go into this in a second, when the fascia braces, when there's incoming force, the fascia actually acts as a solid, because its job is to keep us in one piece and keep us all connected so that, my ear's not over here, and. So when we're injured, that incoming force makes that fascia turn to solid to keep us in our present shape. But then it turns almost to stone. So it becomes dehydrated and sticky, and it no longer is able to be open. It's no longer able to conduct messages. And it becomes like a straitjacket. So that wonderful light network becomes our worst enemy. And when the straitjacket happens, it can exert up to 2,000 pounds of pressure per square inch on sensitive structures. It runs through nerves, it runs through joints, the vascular system gets shut down because of it. So 2,000 pounds of pressure, equivalent, visuals help me, so I put this in here, equivalent to 2,000 pounds, equivalent to the weight of a small car. So there is no structure in the body that can withstand that. So do you see like there's a little curve right here? Do you see that where the spine is curved? So let's say that the fascia is really tight right here, because I know it's the angle, and that's not what they're trying to do with this picture, but I'm going to go with it. Let's say that the fascia is shut down right here, and it's pulling this hip up, and it's pulling the rib cage down. When that shuts down, what do you think is going to happen to the discs in here? Where do they
Do they
have
pop out? You tell me what happens? Ooh.
Yeah, they go this way. They go this way. So herniated discs.
Uh-huh.
So, and the point being,
Oh, we have a caller coming in. Stand by.
wonderful. Okay.
Hello and welcome to the show. You are live on the line with Jane Pullam. What's your name? Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Can you hear us? And we tested this all out yesterday because there was a problem the other day, but I don't hear you, ma'am or sir. Can you hear me? All right, give us a call back, 631-317-1291. Everything looks good on the board. So if you please give us a call back. Oh, I just heard someone hang up. Call us back. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
So, joint issues.
Hello, welcome to the show. You are live on the line. Who's this?
Hey, this is Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. How are
Hi,
you? You're
Ethan.
live on the line with Miss Pullam. Please say hello and ask any questions you may have.
How's it going? Thank you for having me on. So I just had a quick question. So I struggle with carpal tunnel, and I've never really heard of myofascial release therapy before, and I was just curious if this type of therapy could help me.
Yes, absolutely, it can. I mean, how long have you had carpal tunnel?
Probably like 3 or 4 years, I'd say.
Okay, so I've only had it not work with carpal tunnel in one instance. All the other times it's helped with carpal tunnel. We would not, he can't see me, I keep forgetting that. So so the carpal tunnel may not, that feeling that you have in your wrist, there's something going on in your neck and possibly even in your leg that's causing that shutdown in your wrist. So what a myofascial release therapist would do is look at what's not moving and just sink into that. And over the course of the difference is what we missed all along was you can't force something to let go. You can only wait for it, and waiting at the barrier. So I sink in and then I wait, and then it moves, but that's not the one I'm going for. I'm going for the releases after that. And when that happens and we create space again in your wrist and your neck and wherever else is shut down that's related to your wrist, then suddenly it lets up, and it was the lack of space that was crushing. That it's a crushing pressure on your wrist right now. And when we lift that, we open the fascia back up so the body can move again. That is phenomenal for carpal tunnel. Do you have any other questions, or that makes sense to you?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Are you doing like physical therapy for it yet? Or have you, and I'm assuming that hasn't helped that much. I mean, maybe it has, but is this something you could do? Where do you live? Jane, could you maybe, is there a place, I don't know if he's close to you. Where do you live?
I'm in Texas.
Okay, so
Okay, so here's what you want to do. Go to this website. It was the very first one I said by mistake. It's myofascialrelease.com. And then you want to go, once you get on the website, that's John Barnes' website. He's the founder of Myofascial Release, the father. And you want to go all the way over to the right. It's going to say either find a therapist or locate a therapist. And you're going to want to click on that. And then you're going to want to put your state or your zip code in and see who's close to you, because we have therapists all over the world who do exactly this.
Yeah.
Best wishes to you, Ian.
Good luck. I hope you feel better. Thank you so much.
At the very
Awesome.
least,
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
you too. At the very least, take away hope. There's absolutely something we can do before you ever would try any surgery or anything like that.
Got it. Good. Thank you, Jane. And we still have 3 minutes left. So let's want to finish out your slideshow here if we can. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to skip by here and we're going to actually, let's see. You know what? I'm going to go to the very last. No, we're not. We're going to play this one.
When you mix cornstarch and
Oopsie. No, we're going to play this one. So sorry.
It's okay.
What happened to modern-day mankind? We've made great progress on so many fronts, but some of the greatest mysteries remain.
In your first year of medical school, you get a cadaver and they cut it up. The fascia you can throw in the garbage can. So it's almost like we're trained to not pay attention to it.
In the past, the human body was cut in many different pieces. And in such a way, we lost the global view of the body.
It's now one of the most exciting fields of science.
It's all the same human body, and we just have different perspectives on it.
It's completely new. It's a paradigm shift.
Just another piece of the puzzle to help us see the human body as a whole.
This tension can be migrating into your fascial network and will basically lead to secondary symptoms.
Maybe this is where fascia research can help us see all of mankind's needs.
it's a miracle.
And you're not the actor.
No, I'm not an actor at all.
It's no wonder that more and more people are becoming fascinated by the fascia.
Oh my God, what's happening? Because there was running water from his eyes.
Why are you crying? She asked. I said, my pain is gone.
And we are definitely heading along the right track.
We can avoid the aging, we can avoid the degeneration of the joint, we can avoid many different pathologies in the organ, in the muscle, in the joints, and consequently it means that we can become older in a better way.
I love the network of the body without beginning or end.
Wow.
And that was from the International Fascial Research Congress. They meet once a year.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Jane. Perfect way to end. Would you mind sharing how we can reach out to you directly, please?
Absolutely. Let me stop sharing. You can call me 843-814-8642. My website is myofascialwellnessbyjane.com. And for those people, I think this is really important. For those people who are not near Philadelphia, what you want to do is you want to get on myofascialrelease.com, go up to the right-hand corner, click on Locate a Therapist, put your zip code and state in, and find someone near you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today, Jane. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting. I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.